Good afternoon. My English name is Heather Milton Lightening. I'm Cree, Stoney, Blackfoot, and Ojibwe. A lot of our elders talk about knowledge, this idea of being a good relative. And one of the things that Bob had mentioned when he was talking to me about this event was about decolonization. And there's direct links between Indigenous people and the things that we're trying to do here in Turtle Island in terms of taking back power, asserting sovereignty, making a good livelihood for our people, and really understanding that this Canadian state will not be around forever. But understanding also that we talk about the idea of being a good relative, it's about decolonization. And the root of decolonization in its simplest form is healing, right? It's healing from the impacts of the state. The Truth and Reconciliation process that's gone through the Royal Commission on Aboriginal People. There's so many reports and studies and everything else about Indigenous people in North America, but the state isn't really doing anything about it. We welcomed your people here because we knew that you needed somewhere to go. We knew that the first settlers coming here, some of them were religiously persecuted. They were dealing with poverty, they were dealing with all these different things. But the states came here because they needed power, they needed land, they needed resources. And so it goes back to that original idea. It's about resources, it's about money, and it's about power. And that hasn't changed in over 500 years. When we think about power, one of the things that our people in Canada, we've always been really strong about treaty rights, Aboriginal title, and all of these legal constructs as a way to fight the state, to retain our way of life. What's really interesting is the direct links around power. When we talk about the Israeli state and what it's doing to Palestinian people, because we consider them Indigenous people. That's how we understand things. But it also means thinking, in terms of strategy, how do we find the root of that power and challenge it? The larger question that's really important, and it goes back to this idea about being a good relative, is how do we do that? Because it isn't just an Indigenous struggle. These struggles are all over the world. These mining companies, Canada has the worst reputation. We mine everybody. We do that everywhere. And yet the roots of those mining companies are here in Canada because we're friendly. Our policies are friendly. The way these corporate bodies can exist is friendly. And so we have a responsibility as a good relative to not only uphold the Canadian state and challenge it and stop it from doing development domestically here on Indigenous lands, but to ensure that that doesn't happen to other Indigenous people. We need to reconstruct what it is, this vision we have within Canada, but also globally. And how do we do that in a way that upholds the struggles of people in Palestine? We've been pretty lucky in the last little while that the price of oil has gone down and that we've seen some of the companies close up business and cancel projects. But it just reminds me about how effective BDS has been in terms of really putting a global voice to the Palestinian struggle and how important that is. And it goes back to really thinking about what is that strategy to challenge the power dynamic, right? And I think BDS has been a really good way for us to learn as well how to do that. I know a lot of Indigenous people in Canada, might not necessarily understand the link with Palestine. That to me, the Palestinian people are Indigenous like our people, and that we have a responsibility to help each other, whatever that looks like. And so, I'm really excited that Bob's going to be making this trip. He's a land defender and someone that has been, in our history and in our time, someone that's defended our way of life and protected it. And that's a real honor that he's going to represent our people